In Hong Kong, a pro-democracy newspaper is on the verge of being shut down. Critics say it is part of a crackdown on free speech by China. Apple Daily was founded by now imprisoned Catholic Jimmy Lai. It supported the 2019 pro-democracy protests against Beijing, and it also opposed national security laws. Last week, police arrested Apple Daily's senior management, and the paper may not have enough money to continue publishing. Joining us now is Chang, author of both The Coming Collapse of China and The Great U.S.-China Tech War. Gordon, welcome back. Good to see you as always. For those who may not be familiar, can you tell us a little bit more about Apple Daily, its history, and what it would mean for Hong Kong if the paper is shut down?
Many people say Apple Daily is the main pro-democracy newspaper in Hong Kong, but actually it's also the main newspaper in Hong Kong. And it has kept alive the spirit of democracy. As you mentioned, it was founded by Jimmy Lai. He was a billionaire retailer. He didn't have to talk about freedom and democracy and everything. And so really what this is, Jimmy Lai is a hero, and Beijing is absolutely determined to close Apple Daily. Apple Daily has a lot of money, but its funds have been frozen under the national security law, which Beijing imposed on June 30 of last year. And that means the paper probably will go out of business June 26 unless it can find the funds in order to continue.
Gordon, how do you see the situation with Apple Daily playing out? And also, can you give us an update on its founder, Jimmy Lai?
Well, Jimmy Lai has been convicted under the national security law, and he's currently serving a term. He is also subject to further charges under the NSL, and Beijing is absolutely determined to keep him in prison for the rest of his life. I hope that the people of Hong Kong will rally and support Apple Daily. For instance, on last Thursday's arrest with the 500 police officers swarming the offices, the next day, Hong Kong people actually lined up at newsstands to buy Apple Daily copies to support the paper. This is reminiscent of what they did last year after an earlier raid, where people in Hong Kong bought the shares of Apple Daily in order to show their support for democracy. And those shares soared incredibly. And that's really an indication that people in Hong Kong, they're not giving up.
Another thing I want to talk about is a report that came out over the weekend saying China is having an issue with its food supply, especially a grain shortage, they were saying. What more can you tell us about this, the impact on China, and also what kind of effect it can and will have on the world?
About a week ago, Beijing stopped all reporting on grain. And what it was trying to do was to prevent grain prices from rising, because traders around the world would know that China was desperate to buy grains in the market. 2020 was a very bad year for China's food security. There were floods, there were droughts, pest infestations, typhoons, all the rest of it. China's not able to feed itself. And this was really brought home when Xi Jinping, the Chinese ruler, last August started a Clean Your Plate campaign, which was meant to prevent people from ordering too much food in restaurants, a clear sign that the Chinese leadership is concerned about food security. Over the next 3 or 4 years, China is projected to grow less and less of its food, and clearly Beijing sees this as a critical problem, which it should.
Quickly, before I let you go, I noticed that you recently commented on social media that, quote, in the last 3 decades, China's regime has never been more vulnerable. Explain to us what you mean and why you say that.
There's a rumor that a vice minister of state security, Dong Jingwei, has defected to the United States. Now, Beijing says that he has not, but it has failed to produce Dong in public, which is a real indication that they don't have him anymore. Dong has enough information, I think, to show that China was that there's a military linkage in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which means that COVID-19 looks like it's a biological weapon. And indeed, it shows increasing infighting at the top of the Communist Party. Dong was an ally of Xi Jinping, which means that the Chinese ruler is probably not as safe and secure and politically strong as we have been led to believe.
Well, Gordon, unfortunately, we have to leave it right there, but we're always grateful for your analysis. Thank you so much. Gordon Chang, author of The Coming Collapse of China and the Great U.S.-China Tech War. Thank you again.
Thank you, Tracy.